All right, y'all. What's up, man? What up? What up? Dante in the house. What's up, Dante? Welcome back, bro. Shout out to you. By the way, y'all check Dante out, man. He's got some great music. And see, Dante, I've heard your music like months and months ago, but I went back to your channel recently and like went through a bunch of your different stuff. And I gotta say, man, like I said, what was it yesterday or something like that? That's some good shit, man. It really is. Some dope music, my friend. Dope music. All right, y'all ready? Everybody get this started. I'm gonna just jump right into it. Ain't gonna waste no time. We ain't gonna waste no time, man. Let's get the show on the road. By the way, y'all like the video if you haven't already. Alright. Subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't yet already. What's up, Google Man 2.0? What up, what up? You said what show is starting? Music show, man. Music show. Alright, y'all, my bad, I'm back. I'm back, man. Google Man said my phone is about to die. Is at 1%. It's the last thing you see today. Well, shit, hopefully it don't die before you get to the music, you know? But yeah, no, we got the sound back for y'all. We got the sound back. All right, let's switch this over.
Source.
Switch this over right quick. Cool. All right, cool. Let me know if the audio's good, though, if y'all can hear it. That's a little low, isn't it? I think that might be the tune. I mean, that might be, yeah. Google Man says if I die, just know your music is probably fire and I don't need to hear it to appreciate it. Oh, I appreciate you saying that, Google Man. That's pretty funny, man. You got a sense of humor. No, I appreciate that shit. I appreciate the laughs and the entertainment from y'all. You know what I mean? That's nice to see. going, man. Let's get a tempo. Oh shit, wrong note. Gonna rock with it. Fix that. All right, y'all, get to think of a name for the song, all right? Whatever name you want to call it. The first name for this track I see in the chat is what we're calling it, all right? All right, hold up. It's all impromptu, man. All impromptu. Just kind of messing around, you know? Just messing around, you know? Let's... You better charge it up, Google, man. Better get your charger. I dig it, man. I dig it. What should we call this, y'all? What up, Ken? What up, Dakota? What up, what up? Google said this get nice. Thank you, man. Listen, y'all got a name for this, though? Y'all got a name? Y'all got a name? Shit, y'all got a name? I'll give y'all just about 30 seconds, okay? I'm gonna get some water real quick. All right, cool. Let's see. Oh yeah, we're gonna get some good drums for this. I mean, I'm gonna let y'all pick though, for real. Y'all gotta put some letters in the chat to pick drum packs. You guys already know that. You know what I'm saying? And some of you guys who just got here, we're gonna put the instructions in the chat for y'all. Okay? The instructions in the chat. There you go. Let's see. Oh, Ken got the name first. Okay. Forward movement. Is that what you're trying to call it, Ken? Google Man said that's the sad part. I cannot, so I'm just chill as much as I can. Okay. Well, turn your phone brightness down, maybe. That might help her. You know, I don't know what else you could do. Put it on battery saving mode, low power mode, something like that. That way it can last a little longer. Vanter said Florida, that's the name. Dante said call Journey to the Cosmos. Well, look, if that's the name Ken wants to pick, man, he got it first. He got it first. Ken said, yep, okay. That's what we're going to call it, man. Shout out to Ken. Appreciate that. Forward movement. I like that. Okay. Oh, shit. You gotta know how to spell, man. We gotta know how to spell, right? All right, cool. That's it. Type of wrong letters and shit. What the hell? But no, I got it now. I got it. Okay, FLAME. Is that what you putting? Okay, Vantra's got that. The flame in the chat. Okay, flame. We're gonna use those letters, y'all. I think that's good enough, you know. I think that's good enough. That's good enough for my numbers. I mean, a good number of letters. You know, we got 5 of them. All right, let's keep building this. Cool. I don't know about that one. Let's try it, man. Cool, cool. It has like a little effect going on with it, you know what I mean? Just watch this. Kind of hear like a little bit of background effect, you know? I like that. Like a little resonation. There we go, it's better. All right, cool, cool. We're gonna pick, let's see. Hold up. All right, cool. So FLAME, right? Let's get something like that, man. Let's get some F, A's, E's, M's, all that shit, you know? So we got an F right there. All right, bear with me, all. We picking drum packs, man. We picking drum packs. Let's see. All right, put a 1 or a 2 in the chat for me. Either put the number 1 or the number 2. It's up to you. First number I see is what I'm picking. The first number I see is what I'm picking, man. Oh, jeez. 1 or a 2, y'all. 1 or a 2. What we finna do? 1 or a 2. Dante said 1. All right. Boom. 1 it is. Okay, once again, 1 or 2 in the chat. We got another one. I'm picking the E pack though. It's gonna be left or right, 1 or 2, y'all. Once again. Cool, we got that. Dante said 1. My bad. I'm in the background sneezing, man. That's why I had to keep muting. You know? It's a good thing I'm catching it. Let's see. I'll throw this one in there, why not? That starts with an M technically. Just out of curiosity. I don't think I've ever used that that drum kit. I don't think I ever have. Alright, so we got E and some M's. We need L. L, A, and well, no, we got F too. We already got F. Okay. Once again, y'all, 1 or 2 in the chat. 1 or 2. 1 or 2. Put a 1 or 2. 1 or 2. Put a 1 or 2. Yep, 1 or 2. You just put that 2 in there, Dante? You just typed that? Because I wasn't looking at the chat. You just typed that? Just to make sure. Double tap the screen for me, y'all. Come on. Let's get the likes up. Let's get them likes up. Okay, 2. He said 2, 2, 2. I got you. Okay. 2 it is. All right, cool. We're going to keep picking them, man. I'm going to pick maybe like 2 or 3 more, and that's it. Okay. Man, I don't know. Should I get some guitar up in here? Y'all want to see if I can try to make guitar work? Or no, it don't fit. Actually, you know what? We'll do it like this. This will be way better. Number between 1 and 10. Okay? Between 1 and 10. Put a number in the chat between 1 and 10. FL, L, L, B, F. Yeah, pretty much. 5. All right, 5. Cool. Pick maybe 1 or 2 more, y'all. That's it. That's it. Just be patient, man. Be patient. I know. Be patient. I'll possibly use that. All right, cool. I think that's good, man. Let's see what we got here. Okay. Cool. I mean, there's so many different things I can use here, but let me just kind of experiment and see what's up, you know? Let's experiment. You said or 9 or... Wait, what's the 9 or 7 for? What part of that? I missed that. What was that for? I think for the guitar, right? For the guitar thing? That's what we talking about there? We need like some more bass in this mug, don't we? What kind of amp speaker I'm using? It's called the Ounce Angle. OONTZE. You said guitar. I'm gonna try to make it work with the one guitar though. Just for now, you know what I mean? I don't wanna load too many drum packs on here. Let's save it, lock it in, make sure we, you know, don't lose no progress. I like that one sound effect, you know? It's supposed to be more like a pad atmosphere type thing. Nose, bro. You know what's crazy, y'all? They're going from being cold to hot to cold to hot. And every time this weather changes like this, bro, it just always causes problems. Every spring this shit fucking happens. Who else in the chat be having allergies, man? Can y'all relate to that? Every time the weather changes, we go from summer to fall or something like that, from winter time to spring. Fucking allergies, bro. pollen. The pollen be in the air. It sucks. But we making it happen though, man. We making it happen. We're here. We're chilling. You know what I'm saying? You got the same speaker? Talking about the Unz angle, right? I would pick it up and show it to you, but you know I got it hooked up and everything. It's this one right here though. I'll type it. I'm pretty sure it's how it's spelled. You know, but Google that. That's basically what I got. Okay, let's see what we're gonna add here. I really like the sound right here on the end of this. Okay, you got the same one. That's what's up, man. That's how I had that shit. We get it, man. We get it. I'm gonna put the bass in before I, do the drums, just to make it easier. So we will. Actually, you know what? No, I'm gonna do the bass on this part. Yeah, I'm gonna do the bass right here on track 8. That's perfect. Let's see some stuff. See, now I normally just do like long sweeping bass lines, but this time I kind of want to have something with a little bit more rhythm to it, you know? Hey man, every day over here lately we've been just fucking trying shit out. So it's either gonna work or it's not, you know? Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Indoor and outdoor allergies. Yeah. Yep. It sucks, man. I love the setup, bro. It's dope as hell. You know what I mean? I wanted to ask you though, why have the Live 2 and the 61 all together with the Yamaha? You know what I mean? Like, what is the specific benefit of each one individually? But, you know, that like what do they? Because like I know the 61 does kind of like what the Live 2 does, right? That might work, man. That might work. I don't know. That might fit. That might fit. That might fit. We're gonna try it out. Give me a second though. We're gonna try it, man. We're gonna try it. Let's hook this thing up. This shit's gonna die. My phone's gonna die now. Check that out. See, now my phone's gonna die. You know what I mean? Google's still up in here. Well, if you didn't, man, you know what I mean? Rip to his phone. You know? Google Man 2.0. Yep. Because shit, I mean, that makes sense. If my phone's gonna die, then his has to have been dead. But I appreciate him stopping by. So shout out to him if he's watching a replay. Shout out to you, Google Man 2.0. Appreciate you. You know? All right, let me set this up here. Give me just a second, y'all. All right, cool. Let's see where we're at here. You said because I can have an independent track play on the live too while I'm playing a different track at the same time because it's interfaced with the Yamaha Innovation Rhythm Circuit track group machines. Okay, I mean, I think I understand a little bit of what you're talking about, but for me it just looked complex. So, you know, if you understand it, then that makes sense. But it was hard for me to even tell what I was looking at. Like, I like the setup. I like how, first of all, I like how symmetrical you got the Novation setup. It looks very appealing to the eye, you know. I like it. It looks like almost like you finna go on stage with that setup. You know what I mean? But I couldn't tell like what was hooked up to what and why. You know what I mean? But then again, I'm not too well versed in gear. This is my first piece of gear I've ever gotten. Other than this, I've just used a laptop. You see what I mean? So, but I'll be happy to learn from you and see what you can teach me about that setup, man. You know what I mean? Because I actually want to one day have a more a more elaborate setup than this. At some point, definitely have some more equipment going, mixers and shit like that. You know, especially like one machine that's really caught my eye that I'm interested in the most right now is I believe it's called the SP404. You know what I mean? Like I'm not interested in getting another MPC right now or you know anything else like that. Another beat machine, drum machine, sampler, whatever. But and I know the SP44 is kind of like a sampler, but no, it just looks cool. There's lots of little different shit you can do with it, and it also works as a mixer. So I would like to get something like that. That's my, at least for now, that's the thing I have my eye on. You know what I mean? It's all interfaced, so everything's connected with your setup, right? Is that what you're talking about? I mean, it looks like it too, because when you hit play on one thing, the whole thing starts going. That's a really elaborate setup. So shout out to you, Dante. I probably could bring it in like a separate thing. So hold on. Try and get the rhythm right, you know what I mean? That might be how it's supposed to be done, you know what I mean? He said that'll blend in well. Thank you, man. Thank you. My ears just like I'll start messing with some shit, and then my ears will kind of try to remember what the tune actually sounded like, and then adds in some notes just off the cuff that might fit. And sometimes it do, sometimes it don't. You know what I mean? Sometimes it do. I guess it also depends on the sharpness. Like we could talk about that too a little bit when it comes to making music, because everything's all happy, fun and games, all that bullshit, right? But when it comes to making music, it's highly mentally expensive. You know what I mean? I just put it that way. It takes a lot of mental resources, a lot of creative resources. So let's say on a day like yesterday for me when I didn't get enough sleep, you know what I mean? It was hard for me to do a stream and hard for me to make the music the way I want to. So like when you're well rested, you got energy, you ate some food, you know what I mean? You're not stressed out, you ain't got a headache and none of that shit. Like things typically have to be right to make some amazing stuff. And every now and then you get lucky and shit like that. But to the contrary, things could be going on that can make it very, very difficult to play music. You know what I mean? It's not like fucking, I don't know, doing many other things. You know what I mean? When you're doing anything creative, whether it's visual art, anything like that, it's hard to make it as amazing as it could be when your mind is not in the right state. Does that make sense? So, it all depends on your clarity, your focus. Are you in the zone? You know what I mean? Like, how are you feeling in that moment? That can have a huge impact on the music you make specifically, let alone a whole bunch of other ventures in the creative world, you know? I'm not going to talk about every other aspect of life and all their jobs and shit, but like in the creative world, 100%. 100%. You know what I mean? Well, hold on a sec, y'all. All right, cool. Appreciate your patience. Yep, Dante said, I know, yep, for sure you do. And anybody that makes music can definitely relate to anything I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Because not like I'm just saying what I think. I'm saying stuff that, can be like objectively seen. You know what I mean? It's kind of like obvious common sense stuff. But at the same time, the reason why I bring it up is because it's shit that most people don't think about. It helps artists feel like they're not alone, like they're not the only person that thinks that way. And at the same time, the public, the average person who's watching my music or anything like that, y'all can get like a behind the scenes understanding on what it takes to do what we do. Anybody that you see that makes music, anytime you see a producer or somebody that performs live, there's a lot of fucking work that goes into that. It does. You know? It really, really does. So, but I appreciate y'all being here though, man, most definitely. Whether you make music like me or you just a person that enjoys music, I appreciate y'all being here, all right? We don't take no payment for the show though. It's a free show. Just like the video for me. Double tap the screen and sub to the channel, man. Come on. Hit that button. Hit that button right there, y'all. All right? All right, all right. But yeah, we got a new sub goal, man. 555. We getting there. So I appreciate y'all. Dante said I get a melody in my head, I go to my keyboard. Yeah, bro. And that's what I was talking about yesterday too. Like if I'm out somewhere and I can't, obviously I can't make my music when I'm not at home because this is not a thing you could just take anywhere and just make music on the go. That's why I wish they had a battery pack and a speaker setup in this, kind of like the Live 2 does. But no, what I'll do is when I'm out in public somewhere or I'm just not at home, I'll have my phone and pull it out and just sing the tune into my phone or hum a tune or beatbox a little rhythm or some shit. Yep, sure do. You say even if it's 4 a.m. in the morning, I go to my keyboard and lay down the melody so I have it. Exactly. Yep, if I'm at home, man, I'll do the same thing. You know what I mean? I'll grab my phone or whatever's most convenient. Because, like, with me having a little young baby son, a lot be going on around here. So it's like sometimes I may not be able to get to my keyboard right at that moment, but I can grab my phone and do it that way. But either way, y'all can get your music down, man, and get the thought out. That's a way to do it, Straight up. Hold on 1 second, though, y'all. All right, cool. We got Ken. I feel like I've seen you before, man. What'd that say? From, is that Japan? Is that the Japanese flag? Correct me if I'm wrong, though. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, come on. Okay, shout out to Japan. What's up, Ken? Hold on, go ahead. I want that to fit a little better, so hold on. We'll take this out. That might be better. I just thought of something right now. Hold on. Oh man, Ken, I hope you get better, man. I really do. I don't know what would help with hay fever, but look into taking some NAC. Just do some research on it though. Oh, thank you, Dante. Thank you, man. Let's hope, right? Let's save it, lock it in. Copy this over. Have a key group. See if I can do something with this. Add some up in here real quick. See, I don't use most of these. swap it out for something else. Let me see. Let's see. I'm gonna try this out. We're gonna try it. You gotta kick this. Tell with the drums. I feel that. Dante, shout out to you, man. Thank you, man. I like how it sounds. That's loud. What up, Pedro? What's up, Nathan? Shout out to my mom, y'all. Hey, look, my mom's in the chat. Oh, man. Let's see. Let me save this, lock it in. What's up, Mom? Shout out to my mom, man. Say hi to my mom, y'all. She said, help this channel share. Put some likes out there. Show your support. That's right. That's right. Thank you, Mom. Appreciate you, Mom. That's my real life mom right there, y'all. Nathan said, give him some motion. Dope sample. Thank you. But yeah, what's up, Pedro? What's up, Nathan? I see y'all, man. Dante said, that's it right there. Yes, sir. Feels like Monday morning running. Okay. That's what's up. That's what's up. Hey, Ma. I see you. Okay. Let me add something else to it. Add some other things, man. Let's see. we got Bulletproof TV in the house. What's up, Bulletproof? Shout out to you, man. Just met you earlier today. How you doing, man? Hey, appreciate that. Appreciate that. Okay, let me see. I'm not gonna add some other things to it before we get out of here. Let's see. Hey, see, cadence, make them talk, make them preach a sermon. Bulletproof said, "Do you make beats with people?" Absolutely. Yep. If you want to hit me up, man, hit me up on IG or Discord. Put that in the chat for you. Instagram at Artisanova. You know, you can DM me there. Another place is Discord if you have Discord, you know. Dante said famous Scott Storch would dig this. That's what's up, man. That's what's up. And he's really good. That dude's hella talented. Shout out to Scott Storch, man. He knows what's up. But yeah, y'all double tap the screen for me. All right, like the video, sub to the channel. If you haven't already, hit that button, man, if you see it. If you see that button right there, hit that mug, all right? Hit it for me. Trying to get to 555 subs, you know what I'm saying? And obviously donations to the channel are greatly appreciated, but they're not required, you know? I give y'all a free show pretty much every day over here, so. The only payment I require is liking the video, subbing to the channel. That's it. That's it, man. That's it. Pedro said, reminds me of a Vince Staples song. Vince Staples, that name sounds familiar. Vince Staples? Vince Staples. I gotta look that up. I gotta check that out. Okay, let's see what else we're gonna add before we get up out of here. Oh yeah, I forgot we got the guitar pack. I forgot all about this. Hold on. See if that'll fit. Bass guitar? Okay. What's up, Ivan? What up, Ivan? What up, bro? Long time no see. How you been, Ivan? Pedro said dope. Thank you, man. I'm gonna add some double bass or double kick. Oh, mesmerizing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ivan. Appreciate that. Pedro said this could be Assassin's Creed. That's what's up. AC Shadows. Okay. I see you. What up, Amy? Amy said, how much was it? Talking about the music or the or the machine? That's what you're talking about. I'm assuming you mean the machine, right? It's less than 1,000, like eight to 900, right around there. But you can probably find a used one for maybe like 700, a little bit less than 8. You know what I mean? Something like that. It's a dope machine though, for real. Like a second baseline, you know what I mean? Bass. You gonna find the right bass. Pedro said, turn the process more mechanical sound, help in the creative part. What you mean mechanical? Something like that. I'm gonna try to mess with it a little bit. Let's see. put this in. what's up, Ivan? I agree with you, man. I agree, Ivan. 100%. All right, y'all, we're gonna leave it there, man. We're gonna leave it there. Okay. I could do stuff with the song all day, you know, just like most music I make, but I think it's a good stopping point. You know what I mean? Good stopping point. So yeah, I appreciate y'all coming by, man. Hit the like on the video on the way out for me if you haven't already. Okay. Subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't already. Hit me up on IG, Instagram if you want to discuss business or beats or anything like that. You know, we can handle that. But yeah, man, I had a lot of fun. I had a ton of fun with y'all. So shout out to all y'all in the chat, man. Even the ones sitting way in the back, not typing nothing. Shout out to y'all too, okay? Shout out to y'all too. Thank you, Ivan. Thank you, man. And Dante and everybody else in the chat. Pedro. You know what I'm saying? We had Nathan come by. Amy, I think she's new. You know what I'm saying? Who else we have? Yeah, Bulletproof. Yep. Yep. I appreciate y'all, man. My mom even stopped in the show. That's crazy, isn't it? My mom even came by. Yep. That's what's up, though. That's what's up. I appreciate y'all. But look, like I said, like the video on the way out if you haven't already. Sub to the channel. Subscribe to the channel right there if you see it, okay? Because you ain't supposed to see that button, man. If you hit it, then you don't see it. It get out your way. You know what I mean? But yeah, I might be back later today with something else, maybe a game stream or another music stream. We'll see how things go. You know, but yeah. Whether I see y'all later today or not, I hope everybody, all y'all, have a great rest of your morning, evening, noon, or night, all right? Whatever time it is, wherever y'all may be around the world. Appreciate all y'all once again. And until next time, y'all. Peace out.